All right, so this video is about how the Divi Builder works. Now, this video is very important because if you master the components of Divi, it's going to be very easy for you to find your way around Divi and to build your pages faster. Let's dive in and let me show you how this works. So over here, I'm in my dashboard. So the Divi Builder works on pages and also on posts. So it's pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to come over here to pages because this is the most common way that we use our builder. So I'm going to say add new. So the first thing you want to do here is to give this a page. So I'm just going to call this test and click on use Divi Builder. So our builder here gives us three options to work with. The first one is for building your website from scratch. The second one is for using pre-made layouts. These are layouts that Divi has designed for us. They're all in the library where we can go in and choose them. And then finally, we can clone an existing page. So as you can see, these are different ways that we can start designing our pages. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start with building from scratch because this is where we get all the components of the builder itself. So if we start from a pre-made layout, it's going to be very difficult for you to find your way around. So to build a page from scratch, all you have to do is to click anywhere here and it presents you with this. So this is a blank slate. Now this can be very intimidating when you start looking at it right now, but the action comes in when you hover over it. So you can see here when I hover over it, we get this blue boundary area here. This is called a section. So the section divides different parts of your website into its own sort of area. If I were to add another one, all I have to do now is to click on this plus button. So if I click here, I can say add section. Now there are also different types of sections. So if I come over here and click new, there's a specialty section. So this one here does not give you the normal border that we get when we add a regular section. So let me show you what this one looks like. So if I click here, now we have these different types of layouts that we can build with our specialty option. So let's say I choose this one. So this now gives me a different way of designing my page. So let's move on to the next one. So if I click on this plus button here, there's also a full width section. So if I choose here, it now gives me these options: full width header, full width map, full width image, full width menu, and so on. Post title, post slider. But the most important here is our sections divide parts of our website. So once we've divided the part of our website that we need to work with, this section has its own features as well. And that's what we're going to look at next. So this section here, when we click on this gear icon, it gives us more options. So you can see here, these are all our settings. We can snap this to the left, and this is my preferred way of working in the builder. So the main thing you want to keep an eye on here is looking here at the top. This is going to tell you what you're working in. So here we are in the section settings. So in this section settings, we can go in and give this a background. So let's say you give this a background color. Now that's the color that we've just given that particular section. Now there's a few more things that we can also do here. And that is we can come over here to the design tab and we can add some spacing. So we may want to add some padding at the top and bottom. So if I click on this dial, you can see here I'm increasing the space above my section. Okay. There's also other things like a border. I can also add a border around it. So let's say I want to add this dark border here. I can just give it the width and you can see now I've added my border. So these are the features that we can add to our particular section. Now there's also other things that we can do, and that is sizing. So let's say that's the section that we have here needs to have a size. So we can come over here and you can see as I'm dragging this, our section is getting smaller and we can even center it. And now our section is centered. So these are the features that we can also go in and make some updates to. So what's really exciting as well is when you're designing, when you hover over here, it also gives you options to go in and set the sizes for tablets. So you can see here we're on a tablet and here we're on a phone. So you can go in and specify what size you need for these areas here. In fact, let's get rid of this like that. Okay, so that it's pretty much equal size. So we can go in and specify the size. So let's say for my desktop, I need to have, say, 100 pixels, both to the top. Now, if you want to add the same to the bottom, you can just click on this chain. Now we've added 100 pixels top and the bottom. On the tablet, maybe 100 is too much. So we can give this about 70. And on the phone, and visually you can see what is happening here, we can say maybe 50 for this. Boom. So now I've specifically added my padding on these 3 different screen sizes. Now, not only does it work for this, we can also do this with filters, transform, animation, and so on. So here on the animation, we can make this particular section bounce like that. We can make it slide. We can make it fade. But in most cases, I just like dealing with this animation style on none. Finally, we have the Advanced tab. Now here is where you can go in and add some CSS classes, CSS IDs, and we can also add the CSS ID to a specific item. Like for example, this will be the main element. Okay. Next, we also have conditions. We can display this section here if this meets specific conditions. So here we have all these conditions that we can use. So for example, we can say we want to show this section only to logged in users. So to add that, we can just click here on logged in, only display if user is logged in. So you can see here, we can go in and say only display if user is logged out. So you can play around with these conditions all to this section here. Now we're not done yet because there's also other things that we can do to this section. So over here, we see these 3 little dots. These are extra things that we can do. So we can save this whole thing to the library. We can split test. We can disable this. So when you hit disable, you can choose to disable this on, say, a mobile phone and a smartphone, just like that. Next, these are just quick shortcuts that you can do. You can copy this section and let's say you save that. You can come over to this one here, click on this little dots, and then you can paste the section. So you can just go in and take all the settings that we've done here, paste it over here. So it just saves you time to go in and add all these sections again. Okay, now let's move on to the next thing. So once we've done our section here, we've covered the section. The next part on our builder here is the rows. So if I click on this plus button, we get this new layout here. So this is where you decide what your row structure is going to look like. So if maybe you want to have 3 equal parts, or you want to have 2 equal parts, or you can have these 3, you can have all these 3 different styles here. So let's say we go with 3, right? We also notice that it's now asking us to add a module. Okay, so these are the 3 steps. So we first start with a section, and then we go to the row, and then the final step on this level is the module. So if I click on this plus button, we have quite a lot of modules. We have a blurb button, we have a circle counter, comments, contact form, and so on. So let's say I want to add a contact form. I'll just click on that, and now my contact form has been added. So I can save this quickly here, just so that you can see what we've done so far. So we have our section, and then when you hover over here, we also have our rows, and then finally we have our module. Now all these have these gear icons. These are the gear icons you go in to make further adjustments, and all these come with different settings. So for now, I'm going to go back in here and remove that background color because it's very distracting. So let's just go here and just give this white. Okay. Now, if you want to make any changes at any point as you're designing your website, you can just hover over here and you can just go in. So in this case, let's say I want to go into my module settings for my contact form. I can just go in here and I can start doing my designs. I can even give this a title. So I can say contact us, and you can see it's being updated here. Now, one cool thing I want to talk about here is when you hover over this area here, if you click on this paintbrush icon, it takes you directly to that item that you need to make changes to. So in this case, I've clicked here. I can now go in and change my font. For example, let's say I want to add Poppins. Just like that, I've added my font. I can make this font semi-bold. I can also change the color. So all these things I can do to that specific item. So let's say I want to change the button. I can just click here on the paintbrush icon. It takes me to the button, and then I can go in and start customizing the button. So for example, it's asking me for my text color here. Maybe I want to make it white. And for my button background color, maybe I want to make it green. You can see here now things are changing. And then I can go further down here and say, maybe I want to change the font. So I can go in here for my default font and choose Poppins. So just like that, with just hovering over here and clicking on this paintbrush icon, it takes me directly to that particular item I want to work with. So it doesn't just work with contact forms. Let me give you another quick example here. So this time I want to do a text module. So if sometimes you can just type it here and it will just narrow it down rather than trying to scroll through, trying to find it. What I do is I just type it like this, and then it just narrows it down. I can select it like that. So again, I can just hover over here and click on the paintbrush icon. And then I can come over here, change my font to Poppins, just like that. And things have been updated. So you can see here how quickly we can go in and make our changes as we're designing our website. Now, a lot of people do not know these quick tips on how to work fast in Divi. So this is why it's important that you understand and learn quickly how these little things can improve your workflow. All right, so I think this needs a part 2 or maybe even a part 3. So let's move on to the part 2 so I can show you more about how this builder works.